I go places that scare me because they're really pretty.
Welcome to 10 Minute Travels. With me, as always, is Phil Freeman.
And with me, as always, is Shane Patrick. And today we're going to talk to Nancy Broen, not only a traveler, but also a two-wheeled traveler.
Let's get right to it, shall we?
You did quite a travel a couple years ago, and I was part of it. But could you recount? You started in Austin, solo, Texas, on a bike, and you made it all the way to Alaska and all the way back again. Could you tell us about that? What you did, where you went, who you were with, and highlights?
Highlights.
How many miles was it total by the time?
10,000. That was 10,000 miles.
And you struck out alone, right?
Yeah. When I plan a trip, I start with when and where I want to end up, and then the routes along the way that'll take me to see things and people that I'd like to see. And no, I don't go very many miles a day, 250 max, if I can. Of course, when you're crossing West Texas, 250 miles doesn't get you anywhere.
Still in the same town.
Yeah, pretty much. It takes a day and a half for me to get out of Texas going west. But it's kind of pretty, so it's okay. But I did start up northwest. I went to Santa Fe, and that's a 2-day ride as well. In a car, it's a day. On a bike, it's 2 days. I rode a lot of places I've wanted to see. I included Crater Lake, which I tried to see once before on a tour, but there was snow, so I had to turn around. That was actually my very first tour. I saw my friends in Jackson, Wyoming. I did a lot of roundabouts so I could stay off of highways. I think it took me like a week and a half to get up to Portland because I don't have to be in a hurry. I can stop and see stuff. I book my hotels on Booking, and sometimes it's a little iffy when I get there. Like if I get there and there's bars on the door to go into the office, that's kind of a clue to not go out at night. And I was a little worried. There was one I stayed at in Medford that I don't think I will forget. It was, I forget the name of it, but I expected, as I was driving to get there, I thought, oh, this isn't going to be good. But then I got there and the guy was really nice, and he took me to my room, and it was huge. There was a full kitchen. It was all new, and there was a nice Mexican restaurant next door, and it was a huge surprise. Oregon, Medford. It was the night after I went to Crater Lake. I stayed before I went to Crater Lake, I stayed in a resort that had cabins that was in the woods. That was pretty cool. The places that I get to and the people that I meet, I guess, are the really the highlights of these trips.
Nancy, when you say when you do your booking, do you like book out a couple days ahead with lodging, or wake up and like figure out where I'm staying tonight? How do you?
It kind of depends on time of year and month and what's going on in the universe. Like, is it a holiday? I book ahead. If I'm going to some place that's really popular, I book ahead. If I'm going to be out in the middle of nowhere, if I can find a hotel, I'll book that when I get there. I don't always book all the hotels, but I like to know where I'm going to be and where I'm going. And sometimes it's with friends, as often as possible, because A, that's free, but B, I get to see my friends. Some of them, it's been a long, long time. So when I got to Oregon, actually I got to Washington State. I stayed with Chief for 2 days. Shane, you know Chief?
I sure do.
He's a character, and he took me out. I stayed with him for like 3 nights, and this was I think Labor Day weekend. And he had this. This was also a highlight. This was a total highlight. He had this uh, club rally that he was going to. That there were probably 80 people there at this party, and they had set up a little dirt track around the clubhouse, and they were racing these little motorcycles around. You had to be careful crossing over to go to the inside of the club or the outside of the club. They had a band, they had a bar, people were smoking pot, and it was just wild and crazy. And I met Ovi, is that his name?
Yeah, Obi.
He was there. It was fun. He had already left MotoQuest at this point, I think, and he was doing something. He went on us the first day to the Lewis and Clark tour, I think,
Oh, yeah.
with you.
Hmm.
And it was a wild day. It was a lot of fun. And then I flew up to Anchorage and met you there.
So you left your motorcycle somewhere.
I left my motorcycle at Chief's house. He's such a guy. He's such a terrific guy. And his friend Bruce, bet you know him.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a pretty nice guy too. And I've met his wife, and it was just a really nice 3 or 4 days staying with Chief. On the way up, I stayed for a couple of nights with Lynn in Boise and Boone.
Yeah, Lynn Brown's another guide for MotoQuest. So basically, you went up the totem pole of guides, it sounds like. But then you left your bike in Portland, you flew up to Anchorage, and then what?
And then I had a most wonderful ride down the Cassiar with you and Luke.
Hmm.
And we had good weather. We had beautiful roads. We had a good group. It was very large, but it was a good group. And I enjoyed that tour is on my list of top tours. That was excellent. That was excellent. I enjoyed the ride. The roads were fast and smooth and big, wide turns, and those are the kind I like. And and cruising. It was fun and beautiful. We stopped at a jade place. What's the name of that jade place?
I'll research it. What's it called? I remember what you're talking about.
She said at that place, she said there's a vein of jade that goes all the way from, I think she said China through Canada there. Hey, and that's what they're mining there. So, and this beer mug that I'm drinking out of is from the Yukon Brewery, which I picked up on that tour.
It's called Jade City.
Jade City, and it was really neat.
If anybody's been through there, they know how beautiful it is through there and how open those roads are.
Oh my God, it was so beautiful. I think I enjoyed that as much as any other tour I've been on. Although Hokkaido was mighty good.
And then
I did the Lewis and Clark tour.
So after you got back down to Portland, you jumped on your own bike again, right?
Yes, I did. Took my own bike.
And then you went on a whole other tour.
Things are better in pairs.
So you'd log quite a few thousand miles, and then you started to add more to it. What an odyssey.
Nancy, was this between jobs? Are you done working? How did you
I'm so done working.
Congratulations.
I retired in 2014 and took my first big tour in 2016 on my new to me K1200 RS. Wonderful motorcycle. Lewis and Clark tour was interesting. Chief was leading it, and What's the
Do-
blonde-haired guy's
Dominique.
name? Dominique was our support. He's a character, man. He is just a character. I think he'd do anything. It was an interesting tour because I all of a sudden got afraid of heights on this tour. And it wasn't as fun as the first time I did it by far.
Wait,
Be-
the first time you became afraid of heights or
no, the first time I went on the Lewis and Clark tour.
okay.
I went on the Lewis and Clark. That was my very first tour with MotoQuest
Okay.
in 2017, I think. And this time I went on it with my riding partner, Jody, with whom I ride maybe now half the tours. And I just, all of a sudden, I was afraid of the high cliffs that we were facing there. And this was new to me. I hadn't had this problem before. And so I didn't enjoy that tour as much as I might have, or I expected to. So I try to, I'm better than that now, but not over it. It's weird, but I still did it and I still do it. I go places that scare me because they're really pretty. And I do tours and they go there.
Nancy, did you see something or hit a shoulder, or did you just wake up and all of a sudden not like that outside no guardrail sensation?
I was just on a road and all of a sudden I was scared.
Huh.
And I was shaking scared. And I know I was holding people up behind me. They were very nice about it, but I felt pretty bad about that.
Yeah, interesting.
But it was interesting and it was confusing. Like, what the hell happened? Lolo Pass was not as much fun as it was the last time I'd ridden it. And it's a really fun road.
I went through Lolo Pass with a friend from college. We were caravan. He had a 78 BMW and I had a 85 Grand Am. And we like missed a corner. It was dark, it was snowing. And when we came through the other side of the pass, there was a state trooper there. They had closed the road and they thought, no, they didn't know we were up there. They thought we had like gone through the gate or whatever. Yeah, we had no business being up there. That's the only time I've been there, in the dark and in the snow. And
Well,
it
that's
wasn't
not a
fun.
good way.
No, it was terrible.
On a motorcycle on a sunny day is a good way.
Yeah.
In fact,
99.
Lolo Pass is why I went on my first tour with MotoQuest. Because after I found out about MotoQuest, which I did through Robin Kosinski, i.e. Rocco, I started looking at the website and I saw that this tour does Lolo Pass, and I had done it the year before. And it became my favorite road in the whole country. And so I thought, wow, I can spend $8,000 to go ride that road again. And so I did. And it was really fun back then.
Mm.
And I really worked on myself to have fun on it this time, but it wasn't like before. It was just a little scary. I was still shaking from getting up there. But I'm better now. And I made it home from Portland really well. I stopped and saw friends in Northern California and in Las Vegas. And I went to Mazatlan. There's the Japanese internment camp in Northern California that is closed, obviously, but it was used in World War II, and it's a national monument. Something like Mazatlan, but that's obviously not it. And they were closed. But I've been going up and down that road for 15 years to go skiing and never stopped. And now I stop and they're closed. But I made it on to Vegas and on home. And it was all fun, except for being scared. And it was all an adventure. That's what motorcycling is. It's all an adventure.
Do you still
Manzanar.
ski, Nancy?
Oh,
Huh?
Go ahead, Phil.
oh, Manzanar.
That's it. Manzanar. Yeah. It's an interesting place. They did have, you could see some things, some posters and pictures and history and uh, what they did there. And they were there for like 4 years. So they had dances and pretty interesting stuff there. I like to stop when I'm on tours. I like to stop at all the national parks and national monuments that I can and find out about stuff. And that's one of them.
Nancy, do you still ski?
No, I quit skiing when I moved from Southern California to Wisconsin.
Is
There's
that where you live now, is Wisconsin?
no, I'm in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I moved here when I retired.
Gotcha.
Who wants to stay in Milwaukee, Wisconsin when you retire? Boring. Snowy, cold.
Well, it's super hot and humid in the summertime.
And it's beautiful in the summertime. It's green and there's flowers, but that's only for like 3 months. Here we get 2 weeks of winter.
Yeah, the reason I asked about the skiing is I was just curious if the height, risk, sensation, fear was part of that activity too.
Never. Well, when I was standing at the top of Cornice in Mammoth a little bit, but it was more fear of going down the mountain than it was fear of being high.
Right, yep. That was Nancy Broen, two-wheeled enthusiast, bartender, engineer, all-around interesting lady. If you want to learn more about her or anything else we do at 10 Minute Travels, please check out 10minutretravels.com.
And we want to remind you to make sure that your sense of humor matches your sense of adventure.
And please like, subscribe, and share this podcast on all the platforms.